we are, just so you guys know, we are recording all meetings, and the reason being is because we're putting them onto YouTube. So that way, if you guys want to refer to it later, or if somebody cannot make the meeting, they can come back and gather the information. So as I was saying, this is quite a task. This is quite a few people here. So I'm very happy to see that. There is quite a bit of work to be done as new team captain. But again, it can seem overwhelming at times, but step at a time. There's a lot of people that have been part of the race for a period of time, and they're always willing to lend a hand, as well as myself. So I'm always a resource for you guys. First thing I wanted to do is introduce myself. My name is Rick Santos. I am the race coordinator for Baker to Vegas this year. Other folks that you're going to run across is Amanda Langford. She is the race director. She actually chairs the committee on the board for LAPRAC. And then our general manager, Ruben Crane, you'll have interactions with him. There he is right there. And our president, Ruben Gonzalez. Both Ruben and Amanda unfortunately could not make today's meeting, but they are part of the team here, as well as the rest of the board. For those of you who don't know, LAPRAC is the company that puts on the race. So it is a LAPRAC event. First thing that I wanted to talk about for new team captains is, as I said, this can be overwhelming. So please don't try and do this by yourself. Find help, find as much help as you can, not just runners, but people for coordination, and people who are just going to help you fundraise, who are going to help you put together some events that you might need, some time trials and things like that. Just know that this does take some support. You can do it on your own. I've done it on my own. I don't recommend it. It is a lot of work and it takes a lot of your time. So that would be the first recommendation that I have for you, is try and find some help. In regards to runners, I know the race, we have 20 legs, so 20 runners plus a couple of alternates, but my suggestion is always go with more. So if you think, hey, I need 24 people and I found 24 people, the reality is life happens, injuries happen. So get as much help as you can, get as many runners as you can. Don't tell anybody no, especially in the initial stages. If somebody is interested in running, the more the merrier. And as January, February rolls around, then you can start cutting people if you have to. But understand that the more runners, the better. Let me back up by saying I'm going to give you a couple different perspectives in putting together a team. I've put together teams here with LAPD training division on a very small budget. And I've spoken with other teams who are extremely competitive and put together teams on a much bigger budget. So, when I say small budget, I'm talking about the bare bones, just the basics, just, hey, making sure that we have enough money to cover the things that I'm going to talk about today. So that's, a couple different perspectives that we'll be talking about. I did mention finding support staff. You're going to need drivers for your vehicles. You're going to need what are called catchers for your runners, and you'll need catchers for legs 1 through 19. So you'll need people there, and we'll talk a little bit how family members can play that role. And as I mentioned, you're going to need some people to help you coordinate the race on your end. Talking a little bit about fundraising, because obviously this can get a little expensive. There is a group out there called National Life Group. They are a sponsor of ours. So National Life Group is headed by Javier Rodriguez. I'm going to give you his phone number. It's area code 562-237-3683. Again, Javier Rodriguez from National Life Group, 562-237-3683. 3683. National Life Group helps teams fundraise. They'll host a barbecue. There are some details that Javier will discuss with you, but the goal Javier has is to help you raise money. There's some stuff in the chat here. I want to make sure that we're covering everything. So Javier will do everything on his end. And there have been some teams that have been extremely successful in raising some money with Javier and his group. So reach out to him if you're looking to fundraise. Other things that you guys can do, t-shirt fundraisers, selling shirts. I've done that in the past. It does become a bit tedious, so please understand that. As well as some of this community support groups that you guys have in your cities or at your divisions. Sometimes they will give you money as well. So those are ways that you can, or resources that you can find to reach out to. From an equipment standpoint, here's what the basics of what you're going to need. You will need a follow vehicle. Those follow vehicles, the minivan I feel has worked the best for us in the past. And the reason being is because I can keep the passenger, the slider, open the entire time. You're not going very fast as a follow vehicle. So if your runner needs something and that sliding door is open, it's easy to get to them. Also, if you need to jump out because something occurs with your runner, it's easy. So minivans tend to work best. Check your local dealerships. Let them know who you are, what you're trying to do. Some dealerships will do that. They'll loan you a vehicle for the weekend. Usually comes with the wrap around it of the dealership, but doesn't really matter. Also, Galpin Ford. Apologize for the gunfire in the background, guys. Galpin Ford is a major donor to teams. So when it comes to follow vehicles, Galpin Ford is a great resource. However, keep in mind, they go quickly. They give out quite a few vehicles, but it will go quick. So Galpin Ford, also Longo Toyota. I've gone to them in a pinch and begged and pleaded, and they've given us vehicles in the past. So some of the big dealerships will definitely help out. So follow vehicles is the main thing that you need. How many of them is entirely up to you. We being the teams that I've run only run off of one follow vehicle, and it works well. We don't have any issues with it. So it depends, whatever it is that you're trying to find. You're going to need lighted vests, and these lighted vests, unfortunately I didn't bring one, but these lighted vests not only are the fluorescent yellows, but they also have lights on them in the front and in the back, preferably on both. And the reason being is because we want to make sure that everyone can see your runner. If a follow vehicle is behind your runner at night and another runner is coming up and for whatever reason they don't have a vehicle with them because they've pulled off to use the head or put gas, that vehicle that's in front needs to be able to see that runner, so that way that runner passes safely. So that's why the light in front helps as well. Lap Rack does carry the vests. You can use other vendors. Lap Rack just tries to make it convenient for everybody. And they have the smaller vest, not the old school big ones that we once carried. We have the smaller thin vests. But again, like I said, you can use other vendors. You jump onto Amazon, you can jump onto Roadrunner or anything like that. So lighted vests, follow vehicles. You're gonna need supplies for your van. Gas cards. Again, if you know which gas stations are out in Pahrump, make sure if you give a gas card, you're limiting your drivers to where they can put gas. So instead of gas cards, if you want to give receipts, or if you want your drivers just to pay ahead of time and then you reimburse them, that also works. Just know that they will need gas. You're gonna need water for your follow vehicles. You're gonna need an ice chest in your follow vehicle. Other drinks and things that your personnel are gonna want in that van. You're going to need a caution runner ahead sign. And we've used local vendors in the past to get that. If you need one and cannot find it, reach out to me. I believe the dimensions are in the rule book. If not, again, just email me and I'll send out a group message of places you can get them. You're also going to need a amber rotating light on top of your follow vehicle. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. You will look and see some vans that have some fancy stuff on top of theirs. Again, just depends how much you want to spend. You can go and get a rotating amber light for, I don't know, $5 or something at any store and just kind of plug it into the cigarette lighter and it works. So just make sure you have that. Radios are big. So most teams are going to carry FRS radios at minimum. Understand that they do not always work the best. The FRS radios in normal conditions work fine. So if you're, in your neighborhood using FRS radios, you'll probably pick it up for about a mile or so. When we're out in the middle of the desert, that's not the case. So the FRS radios have a problem. We've been literally the follow vehicle driving by and the catcher standing in the chute trying to communicate via FRS, and it hasn't gone over real well. So FRS radios are the cheapest route, but don't always work the best. We'll provide the channels for you guys. Cell phone coverage, it's spotty at best. They just put up a new tower, it's my understanding, at the beginning of the race. I have not been out on the race course to check cell phone coverage, but the front half of the race, the first 10 legs has been shoddy at best in the past. The back half tends to work okay. Obviously 18, 19, and 20 work great because you're back in the city, but do not depend on cell phone coverage. We do have companies that rent radios. Mobile Relay Associates, they're one of our sponsors. They have a packet put together for you. Mark Abrams, who runs that company, will speak at our team captain meeting. So there are radios for rent, and I believe they will actually take the radios out to you in Vegas. That's something you have to talk with Mark, but I've never used them, but from what I hear, they do work pretty well. Again, our team is been run on a very small budget. In regards to your runners, placing runners, how to figure all that out. With your group of runners, the hardest part, especially now we're in October, is keeping your people motivated to run. One of the things that it seems to work, and I see a lot of groups, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but I see a few groups doing that, is putting together a running group on Strava. So, whether it's Strava or Runkeeper or Map My Run, those are all ways that you can keep your runners accountable for their workouts. The reason why I say Strava is because, to my knowledge, they're the only platform that allows you to form an actual group. So I know there's a few teams that have Baker to Vegas in the title, and they have their running group put together, and you can monitor, everyone kind of shares what they did for the day. So it's a way to keep your runners motivated and to keep them honest, making sure that they're training. Because that's the biggest thing is how do I keep my runners motivated? How do I keep them excited to do things? Time trials also work. Sometimes that kind of scares people. They don't want to come out and because they haven't been training, they don't want to show that they haven't been. But time trials are important if you don't know how your runners are doing. If you don't know your runners real well, time trials are extremely important because you're going to, at some point, have to put together a run plan. You're going to have to let us know how long you think it's going to be to do the race, for your team to complete the race. And that's extremely important. It because of the way that we structure our starts and how we start to close down the chutes, it's important that we know how fast or how slow your team is. So please understand that as you're monitoring your runners, you're going to start guessing where to put them. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we go on. Selecting a category, read through the categories. I just updated them last night. Make sure that you know where your teams fit by the definition. If you have questions, reach out to me, but they're pretty straightforward. Make sure that if you're concerned about mugging, because if you don't know, the top 50% of each category mugs. All right. If you're not sure, how to kind of find what's best for you, it's hard because we didn't run last year and we didn't run we're not running this year and we didn't run last year, but you can go back a couple of years and go through the categories and look at their overall times and kind of guess, okay, here's what I think our overall time would be within, and then kind of play with that if mugging is what's important to you. Transportation of your runners on race day. Again, our team is, I don't have too much concern with in the past when I was team captain about our runners getting out. I entrusted that they were good with the directions and they could get out there. But if you have concerns, or hey, some team captains like to keep all their runners together just to make sure that everybody's there, you can use an extra vehicle if you want to make sure that you're shuttling your runners out to the race course and out there to their legs. I always recommend to our runners to be out there at least an hour in advance of what they think they're going to get, because there is a check-in process. They are going to need their IDs, not their state IDs, but their actual agency IDs. Whether they're civilian or sworn, your agency should have an ID for them. They're going to need that. I highly suggest two things. Number one, that they all take a picture of it and send it to you, or at bare minimum that they take a copy of it, make a copy of it and send it to you. So that way you keep it in the book. And if something goes down that day, because inevitably I've had this happen, somebody called me and said, hey, I forgot my ID at home. I'm like, oh, you're killing me. Thankfully, we had copies of it and we were able to check them in. But if they don't have IDs, the people at the stages have been advised and will continue to be advised, if no ID, then that person cannot run. So please make sure that they have their IDs. You can, again, like I said, you can just give your runners the directions to make sure that they're there, or you can shuttle them. Putting together your run plan is quite a challenge, especially if you don't know the course real well, and if you don't know your runners really well. 18, 19, 20, and leg 2 are the flatter legs, and then everything else pretty much has a hill in it. And one is also a relatively flat, and I say relatively flat leg, but you also want to make sure that you put somebody experienced on leg 1. And the reason being is because that's the only leg where everyone takes off together. And if you don't have an experienced racer on that leg, there is a possibility of that person going out too fast and that person going down. I've seen it happen in the past with inexperienced people. So although it's flat, you don't want to give that leg to somebody who's inexperienced, because they will burn out or worse, go down. So I usually put together a spreadsheet with all my runners, their leg assignments, their contact number, and their anticipated time that they're going to leave that leg, as well as the person who's going to catch them and that person's information, contact information. And I send it to the team out. I send that out to the team prior to race day. So that ensures that they have everything that they need contact wise, and they know who to look for as they're coming in. Going back to the vests, I forgot to mention the vests are only needed at night, and it's usually, I say usually, so every year is a little bit different. Just depends on when sunset is. It's usually at 1700 to 0500 where they need the lighted vests. So, and as we move down and get closer to the race, that time will be determined. But I bring it up now because that way you understand how many vests you may need. You can buy 5 of them and then leapfrog them if you want, or you can buy 10 or 11 of them and not have to worry about them, and just make sure that your runners on the back half of the race have them ahead of time. So that's entirely up to you. Trying to think if there's more stuff that I missed. There's a ton of things I know, and I'm sure you guys have questions, but that's kind of the basics of it. Like I said, on the bottom of your screen, there's a reaction button. If you have a question, go ahead and throw it down range, if you will. Hit the raise your hand button, so that way you go to the top of the screen and I'll call on you. All right, I've got Dwayne, is it? Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, sir.
Yeah, so just real quick on the control number.
Okay.
On the previous races, we have a control number that you created. And then when I registered for the new team, I had a separate control number.
Correct.
Okay, so based on our time from the last race, or the previous race where we fall into the number, does that affect division? If we ran in one division 2 years ago and we're doing another division this year, does that change our time and where we fall in?
Not at all. So your control, the list that I sent you guys is a control number, and that number is used by our administrative staff to track who's in the race and to track your payment. It has nothing to do with your team number, the number that's going to be on your bib, not at all. The number that was, I know all of you have a different one when you registered, and yes, it's a little confusing, but I'm going to go back in and I'm going to change all those numbers. So give me a little bit of time as people register. We'll go back in and we'll start putting the proper team numbers, and we'll start putting the proper control numbers. But no, you guys are doing perfect on your end. Everyone seems to be doing it right. So good question. Anybody else have a question? All right, VTD. Oh, I don't know if that's a question or just a, hey, great answer. If you have the question, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great answer.
Ah, great answer. Okay. Can you read through those and see if there's anything that I need to address?
Someone asked about a headlamp.
Okay.
We don't need headlamps to run.
All right. Yes, headlamps are completely optional. If your runners feel comfortable with it, there's no issues with it. They can run with it, but it is not a requirement, not at all. All right, iPad, go for it. Unmute yourself and ask. Question. I have somebody with their hand up labeled iPad. That's all I got. All right, let's go to P. Oh, yeah, P. Kraut. No? All right, I'm going to scroll through these. If you have a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself, ask it, and then mute yourself back up. We'll make it even easier.
A leg with no music.
So in regards to the music, so in the past, traditional, before earpods and everything became the easy way of doing things, people would put sound systems on top of their vans, and some still do that. The legs that do not allow music, if you're doing it in amplified music, if you're doing it that way, is 18, 19, and 20, because we are running through the city at an early hour, and we don't want people pissed off at us. Correct. I believe the rule is they cannot have earbuds, but if they have their music playing off of their phone, no one's going to say anything about it. If anything, if that does change, then I'll let you guys know. But and the reason Why is because we don't want, again, like I said, we're going through the city. We don't want somebody going through an intersection. Somebody's trying to stop them and something happened to them. It's a safety thing. Anybody who's run any kind of races through cities where it's not completely closed knows what I'm talking about. So
VTD asked, do you have an exemplar templates of spreadsheets you can send us to use?
yes, reach out to me. I can send an exemplar of the spreadsheets that I've used in the past. If you're interested, just shoot me an email and I can share that with you. Sure, no problem.
How can we reach you later if we come out with other questions?
So everyone should have my email address. If you don't, it's b2vcoordinator@laprac.com. And my phone number 714-313-0048.
On the website, there's a contact us as well.
On the actual bakervegas.net website, my contact information is on there as well. You can send me direct messages through there if you forget my email address. I think most of you guys have that.
P crowd, so to speak, any remote parking areas for catchers or construction?
So I don't want to get too much into the course today. Well, we're going to talk about it at the team captain meeting, but as of right now, there is no construction out there. So anybody who's been part of the race and knows that, what was it, 2 years ago, I think we shuttled people around and things like that, that is not existing. There is no construction. And to our best knowledge, yeah, that was a mess. To our best knowledge, there is no construction planned between now and race day.
And will today's meeting be on YouTube later?
Yes, today's meeting will be posted on YouTube later on, so you can go back and review it. So yeah, no problem. Any other questions, folks? I know it's a lot, and we'll talk more about the system later on at the team captain meeting. But the big thing is one thing I want to make sure, I'm sorry, for the true new people who've never put a team together, this is important in regards to your volunteers. So each team needs a sworn volunteer. The way we hand out assignments for your sworn volunteer is based upon your payment, the day you pay. So if you registered on Monday, or if you registered on Friday or over the weekend, whatever the case may be, and you don't pay until the last day to pay, your sworn volunteer goes to the back of the list for the less desirable jobs. If you register and you pay, because we've already received about a dozen payments, your volunteer goes to the front of the list. So as I start creating assignments, we'll reach out to your volunteers. Number one, find out what they've done in the past. And if they're first on the list and they want to continue to do that and that's not taken, that's theirs. So understand that that's important that you guys understand that in regards to when to pay. Something came up. What's the difference between what?
Today's meeting versus the regular team captain meeting.
Okay, so the regular team captain meeting that starts in about a half hour, we're going to talk more about the race course, more about the race itself, this year's race specific, not necessarily the things that we're talking about right now. So we'll have some more information later on today.
Recommend that they go to our videos website, look through the old ones, the new team captain meetings, the radio communication stuff.
So we do have a YouTube page, and the YouTube page is called, I believe it's just Baker to Vegas.
You can just go to our Baker Vegas website.
Oh,
on our videos.
Okay. So go to bakervegas.net. And on our website, we do have a link for our videos, and you can go through the past videos and gather information. That's a good resource for you. Important thing is make sure you guys have that whole van stuff set up. In there, you'll find there might be a video on how to set up your van. We're going to try and do one a little bit later. Make sure that your follow vehicle is set up properly. Make sure that you show up early. Ladies and gentlemen, where we start is not right off of the 15 freeway. It's probably about another 30-minute drive from the thermometer inward. And I say that because inevitably somebody will show up and they think they're there early, and next thing you know, they're running late. We have had vans flying into the area and trying to hurry up and get all their stuff ready, because you can't drive from Vegas into Baker with all the stuff already on there. You have to actually set up your van when you get to the staging area for vans. So make sure you leave yourself plenty of time.
What is the role of the sworn volunteer? Do we have one? Did we provide one in 2019 for the race?
Everyone provides a sworn volunteer over the years. What that sworn volunteer did in 2019, I am not sure. I can go, your sworn volunteer will know. But the role is, so this race is run off of volunteers. It's put together with volunteers, but your sworn volunteer help us supplement the volunteers that we bring in. So I have people at the finish line, I have people at the start line, I have people everywhere in between. So they could be mornings, they can be the middle of the night in an intersection, just kind of how it goes.
The regular team captain meeting be the same link.
Yes, regular team captain meeting is exactly the same link as this one. What was that?
Nothing.
Kenny, go for it. What do we got? Kenny, you're muted if you're asking a question. There we go.
There we go, working on my mute, sorry. I don't know if I'm just completely blind, but I know it says on the website that registration would be starting, and you're talking about people that have already registered, and I cannot find it on the website where to register.
Okay. Kenny, do me a favor. Send me an email. B2V coordinator at laprac.com. Send me an email and I will send you a link to register. That link is going to be specific to you, and you're going to jump on and fill out the information and register your team that way.
Awesome, thanks.
Anything we got? Anything else we got? I think we've answered everything in the chat. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Going once. Going twice. All right, you guys. I will see you guys for those of you who show up in about another 25 minutes. Thank you, guys. Take care. Good luck.